Good evening, YouTube friends. I just want to continue with this little thing I've been doing with identifying these things like Jew, synagogue of Satan, which is like insurance companies because they all fit the button. This time, we're going to talk about the Israelites. Because you know those funny people that stand on the corner and they're like, Black Hebrew Israelites, and they're just loud as shit for no reason? Right? Those people are fools, man. So, let's do this, right? The Israelites, right? The word Jew, Israelites, and Hebrews are almost identical. In almost every situation that you come across one of those words in the Bible, the only difference is the time period that it's speaking about. We've gone over what a Jew is, okay? A Jew is an inward thing, a heart circumcised, and when the heart is circumcised from this world, that's where God dwells. That's Israel. Not the physical land over in the Middle East. That's a imitation, a reflection of the inner truth. All right. So the people that circumcise their heart from this world, they don't love this world. Those are God's people, God's chosen people. And they don't love this world. They love God. They love spirit. And because God is spirit and because they are God's people, they worship him in spirit and in truth. Okay? That right there should help you identify them. If you run into one, like if you run into a person, you can tell that they're an Israelite, a Hebrew, a Jew, whatever, because they have great spirits. Right? You ever had somebody walk into the room and the whole presence just changes? They smile and the whole room lights up? That's a good spirit. And vice versa. Somebody walks in the room and you can just tell, like, you get a bad vibe, right? They got a mean face on, they're pissed off all the time, that's a bad spirit. So, the heart, right? The heart, the circumcised heart of the Israelite, the Jew, the Hebrew, that's Israel, okay? Because the heart, I'll get there, sorry. All right. And here's this, okay? You can do what you want with it, but we'll go through each prophetic book and see the same thing, okay? Hebrews, which isn't prophetic, it's an epistle. Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Isaiah, okay? And I just want to say that the letters that Paul wrote, those are the most revealing thing in the whole Bible. And I'll show you why. All right. And honestly, how people don't see this pattern, I really don't know. I don't know. It's like the same story from a bunch of perspectives, right? And that's the Old Testament. And then the New Testament is a bunch of stories about a man who actually did the work. Jesus is the example, and the prophetic books are the outside looking in. Jeremiah 31:33. This is the covenant I will make with the people of Israel after that time, declares the Lord. I will put my law in their mind and write it on their hearts. Jeremiah 31:33. Oh, I didn't get the Ezekiel verse? Oh, all right. Ezekiel. After those days, declares the Lord, I will put my law into their minds and write them on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. The next prophetic book, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah. I love Isaiah. Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, that I will make a new one, a new covenant. Put my laws into their minds and write them on their hearts, and I will be their God. Interesting, ain't it? And you can find that in a few more places in there too, because it's a process of the individual's evolution. All right, these verses, they're speaking about the new covenant, which is made after the circumcision of the heart is done, which the individual does on their own when they stop chasing mammon, when you turn inward to find truth. All right, let's break it down like this, okay? The Jews, Hebrews, and Israelites are names, right? They're names given to groups of people throughout time who do the work, the spirit work, okay? They learn and grow in knowledge of law and Christ, and anatomy is a big part. When revelation comes, when you learn and you take in the information and then you implement it into your daily life, then revelation comes, and then you double down and you work even harder, because that's what you're here for. We are in a garden, and you can't say that we're not. Though you cannot perceive it, maybe, this is for people that don't understand. I assume a lot of people that watch this actually, they're well aware of some stuff. You're in a garden. Though you cannot perceive it, look at the place. It's a garden. Why could Adam, who was in the garden, right? Why could he no longer perceive the garden? Because he went against what God wanted him to do. And so his eyes and his mind closed, and he hid. But he was still in the same place. All right. So, anyway, right? Israelite, Hebrew, Jew. It's not a skin tone, okay? Black, Hebrew, Israelite is not a thing. There are black Hebrews and black Israelites, and if you wanted to do it like that, you could. But it's not just black people in general. You think that if there's a black person and a white person that live the same sinful lifestyle, that the black person is God's chosen person and the white person isn't? Do you think that's how love and law works? Because that's not how that works. It's not a skin thing. It's an inside thing. Okay. Right. And if somebody says, right, if they say that this is a race thing, they're reading the letters, okay? The letter breeds death. Death equates to darkness, ignorance, lack of knowledge. They just don't get it. They're reading what they want to read, and they are not discerning with the Spirit. So, God is here to tend to our needs. Do you think that He made a greater race? Like everybody on the earth is man, but one skin tone is supreme? That's silly. That's really silly. We're all the same. There's just some people that try to live by the world, and there's some people that try to live by their heart. We're all brothers in flesh, but only some of us manage to tame that animal, the flesh. Some of us love him. When it gets cold outside, right, I really hate it. This is nothing to do with this video, but like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, January, February, I hate it. I hate being cold because I'm like super skinny, right? I'm a twig. But I love wearing thermals and hoodies and toboggans. I wear toboggans all summer, obviously, but I hate it. I feel miserable and sick all the time. It's so gloomy. I wasn't even going to make this video today, but I was like, yeah, we got to get this out and work on the next. Back to it, sorry. The ones who do tame that animal, right? They tame the flesh. They tame that desire and those cravings that come over them for material shit, right? Those people that are disciplined and they tame that, right? Those people are in a group of people, right? And that group of people is called Jews, Israelites, or Hebrews, whatever you want to call it, right? They were called Israelites during David's time, and then Hebrews after that. And Jew is just a modern name for the group. It's still the same group, though. They're all the same people, right? And if you don't think so, open your Bible, go to an instance where one of these words are mentioned, substitute it for Israelite or Jew or Hebrew, and see, you'll see it's still the same. They're interchangeable. And if possible, if you can, I would like to see an instance where they aren't interchangeable, just so I could get the context and be able to tell the difference between them in a more specific sense, okay? You know what I mean? All right. So now we got questions, right? Are the Jews God's people? Yes. Are the Israelites God's people? Yes. Are the Hebrews God's people? Yes. And aren't they all three small groups of people in comparison who are set apart, right? They're set apart from the rest of the world. Set apart is the definition of holy. They're holy people. All three are one thing. Check this out, right? And anybody who caught my video that I left up for like 24 hours and then I took it down, they'll have a little more information on this. But I hope I got that in here. Okay. All right. So, Hebrews 10, all right? It states that, well, in the end of chapter 9, it says that according to the law, all sin has to be washed away with blood. Now, we skip some. Starting at verse 23, chapter 10, verse 23. It was necessary, therefore, that the copies of the things in heaven should be cleansed with these, okay? The copies of the things in heaven is on the earth, right? And they should be cleansed with blood. But the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. The outside is a cheap copy of the inside, okay? The kingdom of heaven is within. We know that. My light went out. Damn it. All right. 24. For Christ hasn't entered into holy places made with human hands, okay? The church across the street is not where you're going to find Jesus. And that's literally verse 24, chapter 10 of Hebrews. Christ has not entered into holy places made with hands. What more needs said? Which are representations of the true. They're a cheap copy of the truth. But he enters into heaven itself. Where's heaven? The kingdom is within. To appear in the presence of God for us. So if heaven is within and Jesus enters into heaven to be with the presence of God, where is God? Within. Yet that he should not, this is going to verse 25, yet that he should not offer himself often, as the high priest enters into the holy place year by year with blood not his own. Let me read this over just for clear context here, because it says something really, really crazy. For Christ hasn't entered into holy places made with hands, which are representations of the true, but into heaven itself, to appear in the presence of God for us, nor yet that he should offer himself often. So if we, I'm going to gamble this, right? And I'm let's just take the nor yet and make it not, okay? Not that he should offer himself often, because Christ is a sacrifice for your sins. Jesus, the Lamb, slain from the foundations of the world. If the outside is a cheap reflection of the inside, what is the world? Let's move on. 26. Or else he must have suffered often since the foundation of the world. But now, once at the end of the ages, he has been revealed to put away sin by sacrifice of himself, inasmuch as it is appointed for people to die once, and after this, judgment. I'm sorry, I didn't read that very well. So, let's just move on. So, Christ also, having been offered once to bear the sins of many, will appear a second time without sin to those who are eagerly waiting for him for salvation. That's incredible, okay? And the part that's really incredible is not that he should offer himself often, as the high priest enters into the holy place year by year with blood not his own. Do you see how relevant that is? All right, skipping some. Therefore, when he comes into the world, he says, sacrifice and offering you did not desire, but a body you prepared for me. Okay? I'm just going to stop here and quote another verse that says, the Lord God dwells in your camp. Avoid anything unclean or unholy so that he doesn't look in your camp and then turn away from you. Okay? Prepare the body for him. You have to clean the mind, clean the body. Okay? Crucify your emotions, renounce every thought. I'm sorry, I go off on a tangent sometimes. I'm sure you know that. All right. But a body prepared for me. The ones who prepare their mind and body and then offer it as a vessel for the Lord's work are the Jews, Hebrews, Israelites. They are God's people because the Spirit of God dwells in them and they do his will. Why does his Spirit dwell in them? Because the vessel is clean and they offered it to him. These are the people who have overcome the world. Okay? Not a whole race of people. Okay? It's not a certain color that overcame the world, obviously. It's not a geographically organized people. Okay? It's not, if you go to the Middle East and you get Israel right there next to Jordan and all that shit, right? Everybody in that little country, that's not it. That's not it. Israel is not a small country in the Middle East. It is, but you know what I mean. Israel is the collective hearts of those people, the Israelites, the hearts where God dwells. The heart is the subconscious, okay? You may say consciously in your mind, through programming or any number of reasons really, that, for example, you might say with your mind, right, I'm a good cook. But in your heart, you know that you can't cook for shit. You know, even further, right? Even further than just your subconscious, just what's in your heart. In your heart of hearts, okay? You might absolutely hate cooking, period, and don't give a shit to be a good cook. Anything, right? Anything in your head is holy in anatomy, okay? It's holy, like the holy claustrum, okay? That's where Santa Claus comes from, is the holy claustrum. Look it up. Starting right above Atlas. The top node of your spine is named Atlas, okay? Because that's what all this shit's about, is the body, the person. What's Atlas do in Greek mythology? What's his job? He holds up the heavens, okay? And Atlas actually has 7 daughters and the whole 7 chakras, all that shit, right? Which I think those are just glands. That's what those are. Anyway, let me just keep it moving here. Anything in your head is holy, starting right above Atlas, the top node of your spine that holds up the heavens. Okay? Your mind, your conscious mind, is the outer court. The Gentiles, they wreck it. Okay? The Gentiles trampling all over the outer court. Don't measure it. Deeper than that, right, is the subconscious. That's your heart. That's the holy sanctum. And then deeper than that is the Holy of Holies. Okay? You like this? You get it? I hope so. Those 3 things, they correlate to a lot of things. These are the 3 rings of Atlantis. The rich were in the center, the bullseye, okay? The 3 rings of Atlantis, the will in the center, surrounded by the intellect, and then the passion or the emotions, okay? And you can live on any one of those 3. The centers are really hard to get to, but you can. All 3 of these rings, okay, all 3 of these things here, they motivate you to act, but at different levels. The passion or the emotion is the outer ring, where majority of the world lives, and it rules them, really. Because emotion, being ruled by emotion, means you react to everything in an emotional way, okay? And you can't succeed like that. Let's see here. When you stop reacting emotionally, you begin thinking rationally. And I'd like to say here what I said before. I'm sorry, I missed something here. The passion or emotion is the outer ring where majority are at, and it rules them, really. Beyond that is the intellect. When you stop reacting emotionally, you begin thinking rationally. And I'd like to say here that in the song Mystery of Iniquity, which I've made a whole video about, the verse says, crucify your emotions, renounce every thought. Okay? That's the outer ring is the emotion, get rid of it. The inner ring is the thought, the intellect, get rid of it. And then where you at? Exercising the will. Alright, which lands us in the most important part, the will. People don't even have these anymore. They don't. They surrender. They surrender their own will. They don't do what they want to do. They're, I don't want to say tricked, but they willingly accept that they have to fulfill someone else's will. They say it's to get by, kind of thing. But personally, I think it is a way to refuse responsibility, because it's work. You don't just get to sit down and that's it. Alright. They surrender their own will to do the will of others while they remain in an overactive emotional state. And that's the outer ring. Imagine a world, right, where emotional reactions, which are animalistic and usually wrong. Imagine a world where emotional reactions determine what truth is. Oh, never mind, that's right now. Whoops. Sorry about getting off track here. I really don't, like I said, sorry to get off track again. But I really don't have anyone to talk about this stuff with, you know? My wife, she's growing a business, and I got kids that I can talk to, but they're kids, you know? They don't need to be worrying about this shit right now. And also, that's part of the reason that I do these, right? Because not only do I put the videos out there for everybody else to learn from, but I use my Chromebook, switch everything over. I got an SD card taped to the bottom of my laptop, and after I do a few videos, I switch them all over to the SD card, slap it right back on the bottom, and they're saved for posterity. Yeah, originally I started all this study to help my kids have a better life, because my life was rough, man. Let's get back to it, though, okay? Anyway, here. These names, Israelites, Hebrews, Jews, in the Bible, they're not names of groups of people that can be distinguished by other groups of people, okay? Now, here's another example, right? The Philistines. The Philistines weren't a specific race of people that lived in a certain area. They might have been, really. Maybe this is a weak example, but I'm going to use it to make the point. The Philistines are everyone else. The Philistines are the Gentiles. The Philistines are the Cains, the people that have surrendered their will. They live in emotional land, and if you exercise your actual will and you succeed, they will fucking kill you. They will call you pedophiles without ever seeing any proof that you're a pedophile. They will do anything to bring you down. It's really, really insane how hateful people can be. But Philistines aren't doing the will of God. And they're the people of the earth. Okay? The world moves in its little flow, and these people jump on that flow and they just move with the world. Those are the Philistines. David, right? David was a little man who conquered a big fear. And the reason that the Philistines are in it is Have you ever been around the hive mind? Like, they say liberals are really bad for this now. If you go around the hive mind and you say something that they don't agree with or that challenges their narrow-minded beliefs, they will flip the fuck out, yo. It's crazy. And it's honestly insane what they do in that situation. I'm sure you've seen some of the lefty liberal videos of them just losing their mind and shit. That's if you hurt their emotional state. You just gotta let them be sometimes. So, last fact, right? The Jews, right? The Jews speak Hebrew and they live in a land called Israel. If that doesn't prove that they are all three the same thing, then I don't know what will. If you think Israelites are black or white or brown, or you say, oh, they have to be dark skinned because they live in the Middle East, you don't get it. You don't get it. It's an individual thing, okay? When you decide to stop worshiping this world that is a death cult, right? Everything that they celebrate on this planet, basically, it celebrates death. But last thing I want to close with here. So I was reading this book, and it's called The Screw Tape Letters, all right? And it's a book about a demon and another demon, right? And one is named Screw Tape, and he's the uncle to the other demon, and the other demon is assigned to a human, right? A man. And the plan is to get him to live a shitty life, bring his spirit down all the time, and eventually when he dies, he goes to a bad place because he had a bad spirit his whole life. But in this book, right, and it's written by C.S. Lewis, who wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But in this book, they say the demons, they control the minds around the world here, which is kind of obvious at this point. When they want people to cling to tyrants and fascism, they turn liberalism into the enemy, into the boogeyman. And I just thought it was so cool because that's exactly what's happening right now. And I'm not saying that liberals aren't absolutely insane and out of their mind, because it looks like they are. But I'm saying there's a reason you're shown it. There's a reason that all social media, if you hint that you're a right-leaning, conservative kind of person, they'll give you your dose of propaganda, and then they'll give you your dose of crazy liberal bullshit. If you lean towards the left, they'll give you your leftist propaganda, and then they'll give you some crazy right-wing bullshit. It's both sides are played the same exact way, okay? And if you ain't involved with either side, you can see that. But as long as you say, oh, I'm a Republican, you're only going to see shit the way you want to. Don't be part of any group. None. Just be you. I'm not trying to label myself. I'm not trying to label anyone else, right? I'm just saying, if you are in no group, you can see every group clearly, right? You can tell what they're doing because you're not invested in it. So, last thing I want to say here, the best place to get information, right? Before I do this, let me say, right, because I just said left wing, right wing, right? What happens is, because God is in man, when one group is polarized one way and another group is polarized the opposite way, right, and both groups end up in polarization, that's how we end up with the rise of the Antichrist and the Christ. Because those polarizations will have to manifest even though they're already polarized, right? The moral standards would manifest a very even more extreme version of those polarized beliefs, if that makes any sense, right? Eventually somebody's going to come that is so fucking out of their mind that they will be against everything that Christ stood for, and they'll think it's normal. And at the same time, after usually, people will see the polarization, and they will be so hard set in their beliefs that they will be unwilling to bend an inch on everything that Christ stands for. You get what I mean? God's in man. When you polarize men, it manifests in different ways. If everybody was balanced, there'd be peace. But that's exactly what the Roman bullshit don't want. You know what? Fuck it. Another time. I love you guys. Peace out.